Smoke, then came the flashbangs, and by midnight, a California city was on fire again. But while families choked on tear gas, while ICE agents were being attacked, and while child labor camps were uncovered at illegal grow operations, Governor Gavin Newsom, well, he was just too busy mocking JD Vance's Disneyland trip on Twitter. You heard that right, guys. Newsom is trolling online while his own state is collapsing under the weight of criminal cartels, riots, and federal chaos. And that's when JD Vance had enough. What he said next? Well, it hit like a nuclear bomb, and it's about to change the immigration fight in this country forever. Because this is not just about ICE. This is about children being trafficked in our own backyards. It's about sanctuary city mayors using your taxpayer dollars to pay people who are basically too afraid to work because ICE dared to arrest criminals. And it's about a President Donald J. Trump, who is finally backing federal agents with the power that they need to be able to win this fight. So today I want to walk you through exactly what happened the night California burned, how JD Vance exposed Gavin Newsom's hypocrisy on national TV, and the new ICE policy bombshell that could flip the entire sanctuary city scam on its head. If you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all the well wishes. Thank you for your prayers, helping me to recover. I thank you so much, guys. God bless you guys, and praise God. So President Donald J. Trump is the president of the United States, and under his administration, the federal government is working overtime to restore order across a nation that has been left in shambles by years of weak leadership, open borders, and political theater. But in California, totally different story. Sanctuary cities like Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Bakersfield, they're buckling under the weight of their own choices. ICE agents are being stretched thin. They're under attack from rioters emboldened by political leadership that protects criminals more than citizens. Illegal grow operations are thriving. And just last week, one of those operations found that they were using child labor while local officials looked the other way. Is anybody okay with that? Yeah, I don't blame you for not being okay with that. And as all of this unfolds, what is Gavin Newsom doing? Well, I'll tell you what he ain't doing. He's not issuing emergency orders. He's not fixing the ICE bottleneck. He's not protecting the families locked in apartments choking on tear gas. No, Gavin Newsom, he's on Twitter mocking JD Vance for taking his kids to Disneyland. Is there anything wrong with taking your kids to Disneyland? I mean, this is not satire. This is not parody. This is the governor of the largest state in the country, California, trolling a U.S. senator while his own city's burned. So guys, this is not a game, okay? People are scared. Children are being exploited, and ICE agents, federal officers, they're being hunted on American soil. So what happened in Portland last year? That was just the warm up, because now in Bakersfield, California, the same anarchist mobs that targeted ICE headquarters in Oregon, they're back, and they've leveled up. They're now throwing bricks. Okay, but they didn't stop with the bricks. They're also bringing sound weapons, green gas, flares, riot shields, homemade armor, military style tactics. Their mission: storm the ICE facility, liberate detainees, shut it down permanently. And folks, the Fed fought back, okay? The DHS agents, they were forced to deploy rubber bullets and flashbangs after crowds refused to disperse. Law enforcement, nowhere to be seen. Why? Because California's sanctuary city policies have tied their hands, or maybe even worse, trained them to look the other way. Now, which do you think it is? But here's the kicker. This didn't happen in some abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. This happened in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Unbelievable. Moms, veterans, kids, working class families, now trapped in buildings filled with tear gas and chaos. The HVA units pumping protest residue into their bedrooms. It's wild what's happening there. Meanwhile, ICE officers are being spit on, ambushed, and ultimately being attacked for doing the job that they were sworn to do. And if they leave, if they back down, what message does this send to every radical in every city from Chicago to Miami, right? That if you riot hard enough, if you throw enough fire, if you scream loud enough, you win. And that's exactly what JD Vance says we cannot allow. Does anyone agree or disagree with that? But if you think that that was bad, wait until you hear what ICE found during one of those raids. A grow operation run by child labor right here in the United States. And California officials refused to help ICE remove the criminals responsible. So let's talk talk about what ICE found during one of those federal raids just outside San Bernardino. A massive cartel-run marijuana grow operation hidden behind a makeshift compound, and inside, children, minors, some reportedly as young as 13, forced to work in dangerous, toxic conditions, surrounded by chemicals, weapons, and cartel enforcers. But here's where it gets even worse. The suspects already had criminal records, drug trafficking, firearm violations, you name it. ICE flagged them for immediate deportation, and local officials under Gavin Newsom's sanctuary policies refused to cooperate. That's right, guys. California officials had the legal ability to help ICE remove these repeat offenders under existing state law, and they chose not to do so, even when the crimes involved child exploitation. And JD Vance, he was not having it. He took the national stage and didn't just call it immoral. He called it what it was, a total betrayal of the American people. So where's the line? If trafficking doesn't make California leaders cooperate with ICE, then what will? JD Vance said it straight up. He said, you can't hide behind politics when kids are being exploited. That is not compassion. That's complicity. And he's absolutely right. Now, every once in a while, a message from one of our viewers, it really just stops me cold. Pauline Diener, she said, thank you, Ron, for sharing your information about Chapter. My son's Medicare has been a nightmare for over a year. Chapter finally helped us fix it. They saved him money and got him on a plan that actually meets his needs. Guys, this is the kind of impact that we need more of. This is why I partnered with Chapter. They don't just handle your Medicare. They help fix the stuff that others avoid. Now, if you or a loved one are dealing with a confusing Medicare plan, do not wait. Give our friends at Chapter a call right now. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or visit them on the web at askchapter.org/Ron. I'll leave a link for you guys in the pinned comment. One call might turn your entire year around. So this brings us to the ICE bombshell. After the raid and the national backlash, JD Vance introduced a proposal that would flip the script on sanctuary cities once and for all. Now, under the proposal, ICE would be federally empowered to override local interference when child labor, cartel activity, or trafficking is involved. No permission from state leaders required. In other words, if Gavin Newsom won't help stop these traffickers, ICE won't need Gavin Newsom's permission. So, JD Vance is also calling for a federal public reporting system. This is one that would enforce cities like San Francisco, Oakland, and Los Angeles to report every time they refuse to cooperate with ICE on violent exploitation-related crimes. And that's not all. He's also pushing for federal funding penalties on any state or municipality that obstructs ICE during the arrest or deportation of convicted criminals tied to organized crime or any kind of child exploitation. So, you want to mock Disneyland? Try leading a state that hasn't become a narco playground. So who's really protecting children and communities? ICE and JD Vance or Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass? I want to hear what you guys have to say. But the real question is this: why was Gavin Newsom mocking JD Vance on the same day ICE agents were fighting for their lives and neighborhoods being torn apart? Now, trust me, guys, what's coming up next? You'll want direct, okay? My breaking news email is totally free. Grab it. I left the link for you guys in the description down below and in the pinned comment. Get the breaking news newsletter right now while you can. Totally free. So let's rewind to the exact day ICE agents were ambushed outside of a federal building in Bakersfield. Okay, protesters, they were lighting flares in the street, using homemade sound weapons, and overwhelming federal agents with chemical smoke and riot gear. Tear gas poured into nearby apartment buildings. Federal officers suffered head trauma from a thrown object, and children in the surrounding neighborhood were treated for respiratory irritation at a nearby urgent care. And what did Governor Gavin Newsom do? Well, of course, he's on Twitter trolling JD Vance over a family trip to Disneyland. Really? Yeah, really. He posted, "Hope you're enjoying the churros, Senator Vance. California's nice, isn't it?" That tweet went viral, but not in the way that Gavin Newsom expected, because while Newsom was posting snarky tweets, his state was burning, literally. And JD Vance, he wasn't playing along. His response? Calm, straight, brutal. Have a nice day, Governor. And that's when the media started doing some backflips, trying to spin the moment as a win for Newsom. But the people saw it for what it really was: a man obsessed with going viral while his own state was unraveling. So is this leadership or influencer cosplay? And the same governor who once bragged about California's wildfire prevention plans now brags about his follower count instead of fixing real fires. Is this guy, is he an idiot? Last week, Gavin Newsom's press team released a statement touting his online engagement milestones. Not arrests, not housing development, not public safety, just likes and tweets. And if that was not enough, I want to go ahead and head over to Los Angeles, where Mayor Karen Bass is quietly launching a very controversial cash assistance program. It's It's being called philanthropy. But here's the truth. It's taxpayer money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are being funneled into prepaid debit cards for individuals impacted by ICE operations, including illegal immigrants who, quote unquote, are too frightened to go to work. Now, let's be clear. These are not refugees. These are not asylum seekers. These are adults choosing to avoid employment because they fear deportation after committing crimes. That's it. So how do we go from ICE arresting criminals to taxpayers funding payouts for lawbreakers? JD Vance and Steve Holton both slammed the program. They called it what it is: money laundering through nonprofits. Philanthropy is just the fig leaf. The cash is coming straight from your pocket. And LA? Well, LA is running $1 billion deficit, but the mayor somehow, some way, he found room in the budget to pay people who are actively avoiding law enforcement. So you want to solve homelessness? Try stopping the cash giveaways for cartel protectors. Now, here's the kicker. The city claims that these programs are temporary, but they've already announced plans to expand them statewide. So while ICE is essentially trying to save kids from the cartels, while JD Vance is proposing real reform to protect American families, Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, they're out here handing out debit cards and they're posting memes and bragging about engagement metrics. So now while Gavin Newsom is tweeting and Karen Bass is handing out cash cards to lawbreakers, President Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, has been quietly rebuilding the backbone of national law enforcement. Over the last 90 days, the Trump administration has approved $4.2 billion in ICE reinforcements, signed off on 3 federal detention centers, authorized the largest ICE personnel expansion since 2019, and ordered a task force to track sanctuary city interference in trafficking and cartel-linked crime. Now, this is not bluster. This is strategic, calculated, patriotic governance. So while the media is obsessing over Disney jokes and follower accounts, Trump is giving JD Vance and ICE the tools they need to actually clean up this mess. Trump's not tweeting about Disneyland. He's rebuilding America's defenses while the media pretends not to notice. And let's be clear, guys, this is not immigration anymore. This is about public safety, national sovereignty, and the protection of our children. JD Vance, I think he said it best. He said, we're no longer asking for permission to keep Americans safe. We're using every tool President Trump gave us to do the job they refused to do in Sacramento. So ask yourself this: when the riots break out, when the grow-ops use minors for labor, when ICE officers are ambushed in the streets, who do you want backing the agents on the ground? Gavin Newsom's Twitter account or a president with a strategic plan and the will to act? So here's the part that legacy media will not touch. Even California residents are starting to turn against the chaos and the leaders that are enabling it. In Bakersfield and South Los Angeles, residents who once voted Democrat are now saying, I don't care about politics anymore. Just stop the madness outside my door. Just like in Portland last year, people are trapped in their own homes. They've had tear gas pouring through vents. They've recorded high frequency protest noise so loud that it caused temporary hearing loss. I mean, some residents are now saying they've made doctor appointments for permanent ear damage. Wow. And what's the mayor's response? Well, we're committed to protecting people's right to protest peacefully. Folks, there is nothing peaceful about this, okay? There's nothing civil about waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to the sound of explosions and sonic weapons shaking your windows. Even Democrats are realizing that Newsom and Karen Bass have lost control. Are they too late? JD Vance said it loud and clear. You don't need to vote Republican to hate lawlessness. You just need to be a parent, a business owner, or someone who wants to sleep without the sound of riots outside their bedroom window. And I think the message is finally starting to sink in. There's a growing rebellion in California, and it's not coming from the radicals. It's actually coming from the working class, the families, the exhausted, the forgotten. And they're done waiting for Gavin Newsom. They're done waiting for him to remember what a governor is supposed to do. And so now the moment the headlines couldn't ignore is this: the moment that ripped the mask off Gavin Newsom's administration, and the moment JD Vance dropped the ICE bombshell. Standing before a packed press conference, JD Vance introduced new legislation that would empower ICE to bypass sanctuary city interference in cases involving child labor, trafficking, or organized crime, create a federal public database showing when cities obstruct ICE from arresting convicted foreign criminals, and most explosively, trigger automatic funding consequences for states or municipalities that interfere with ICE operations that are tied to national security or child exploitation. And then came the quote that broke the internet, guys. If Gavin Newsom wants to be cute on social media while kids are trafficked on his watch, let him. But we're done waiting for him to grow up. The federal government's moving forward with or without California's permission. Boom. No more begging or cooperation. No more chasing signatures from woke mayors who would just simply rather host drag brunches rather than protect children. JD Vance just put the entire sanctuary state system on notice. So whose side are you on? The federal agents defending kids from traffickers or the state officials handing out gift cards to criminals? And let's be clear, guys, this was not a partisan issue anymore. This is a moral issue, because if your city is shielding men who run illegal labor camps filled with kids, you're not a leader, you're a co-conspirator. So here's the choice. On one side, you got ICE agents backed by the Trump administration risking their lives to protect American families, JD Vance leading the charge to hold sanctuary cities accountable, a growing movement of residents, left, right, and independent, saying enough is enough. Then on the other side, you got Gavin Newsom tweeting about churros while neighborhoods burn, Karen Bass handing out taxpayer-funded debit cards to ICE evading criminals, and a media class that's just too busy defending performative leadership to cover real suffering. So are you with the people trying to fix this country or the politicians live tweeting its collapse? Because California just got torched, and JD Vance just lit a fire of his own with one goal and one goal only: to burn down the broken system that protects criminals instead of children. Now, let me know in the comments, guys, do you support JD Vance's ICE override proposal, or do you think sanctuary cities like LA and San Francisco should continue blocking federal agents? Drop a fire if you're with ICE, drop a bomb emoji if you're with Vance. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still thinks Gavin Newsom is doing a good job. And hey, YouTube thinks that you're really going to enjoy this video that's about to pop up here. They're probably right. It dives even deeper into the chaos that is starting all of this. Tap that video right now. Keep watching. Do not miss what happens next, and I'll see y'all over there.